Hey guys, and welcome back to the New Tennis Era podcast. My name's Anthony Hirsch, and today I'm going to be talking about the Davis Cup result where Jannik Sinner concludes an incredible season, an all-time season, where he ends up with a 73-6 record and once again helps Italy to a Davis Cup title. He helps Italy defend the Davis Cup title along with Matteo Berrettini and a few other names. I'll talk about what went down this week, particularly the final, and particularly the Jannik Sinner versus Griekspoor match that happened in the final between Netherlands and Italy. But Sinner, with an amazing season, ends up 73-6. Like I said, he hasn't lost in straight sets all year, which is only the second season in the entire Open era where that happened. Only Federer in 2005 had done that before on the men's side. He never lost a match before a deciding set this year. That's the first time that's happened. He hasn't lost to a player outside the top 20 all year. He's won 2 slams. He's won 3 Masters titles. He's won 9 ATP titles, 1 Davis Cup title, and he has been so utterly consistent. He's only lost to 1 top 10 player all year. That was Stefanos Tsitsipas en route to his 3rd Monte Carlo title. So Sinner has been unbelievable this year, and he has improved so greatly, so immensely. His movement, his serve, and both of those things were on display in this match, and I want to talk about the Sinner versus Griekspoor match. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe to Quality Shot Tennis, and please don't forget to like the video if you're new as well. But alright, let's just get into it. So Sinner versus Griekspoor, 2 players that I really love watching. I just love watching these 2 guys play. They are both such talented, complete players, and whenever they go toe-to-toe, it's always a fun watch. It's also a fun watch, even though the head-to-head is 6-0. I've enjoyed all of the matches they've played this year. Griekspoor has had nightmare draws all year, and he continues to have it in the Davis Cup. He beats almost everybody outside the top 10, top 20, but when it comes against top 10 players, he has a hard time getting the job done, but he always makes the job difficult. He always makes the job difficult. Both players very complete and talented. Sinner just a little bit steadier, more consistent, better backhand, and better decision-making in the big moments, and that was seen a lot in this match. But Griekspoor also has a good backhand, but his backhand did let him down in this match. But overall, Griekspoor played fantastic. He played a really fantastic, encouraging match on his side. In fact, Sinner has won not just 14 consecutive matches to end off the year, but I believe a record 26 consecutive sets to end the year off. That's not 26 sets in a row isn't a record in itself. People have won more than 26 sets in a row, but what is a record is to end off the year winning 26 sets in a row. I believe that's the record. And only 4 of those sets, his opponent was able to push it to at least 5-5 and win more than 4 games. Griekspoor became the 4th in the last 26 sets since Echeverry in Shanghai, all the way back to Shanghai. So Griekspoor put in a good battle, and I want to talk about that. But overall, Sinner's serve is just unbelievable. Sinner serving, unbelievable. He hit 15 aces to 6 aces from Griekspoor, just a couple of stats to throw in here. He hit 73% first serves in, 80% of those points were won. And also he was able to save 2 out of 3 break points. Griekspoor only able to save 2 out of 5, even though his serving stats were also very, very good, especially against Jannik's elite return. 66% first serves in, 72% first serve points won, and their second serve stats were decent as well. So they both, honestly, Griekspoor played very well. It's just the big moments, Jannik did a little bit better, and let me go to those big moments. Let me talk about key moments in the match, and then I'll do a kind of summary of what happened in the match itself. Yeah, so the Griekspoor played incredibly well up until the tiebreaker in the first set. He was very solid on serve, and he was hitting great shots from the back of the court, really keeping up with Jannik in a lot of ways. They were both hitting with a lot of great touch. Sinner's drop shot was particularly great in this match, and Griekspoor had a great time coming to net and playing at the net. He was slicing a lot, but that's where I felt like Griekspoor's problems slightly began, because I think the lack of confidence Griekspoor had rallying with Jannik from the back of the court, particularly backhand to backhand, really let him down. His slices were falling short. There are times where I feel like he probably could have hit through the backhand, especially on defense, where he would decide to slice, and then Jannik would be able to get away with that and take control of the rally after Griekspoor would slice. Like, Griekspor's slice made it so that Jannik could take control of the rallies, is what I'm trying to say. So this is what happened in some of the key moments of the match. So, first set, Griekspoor plays incredible set, is serving well throughout all of the first set, and is playing great. Honestly, Griekspor's stats, almost across the board, were actually better than Sinner's stats. Outside of first serve percentage, where Sinner was serving like 80+% first serves in, but Griekspoor was almost playing better than Jannik. Off the forehand, Griekspoor was very much keeping up with Jannik, who was maybe hitting a couple more unforced/forced errors a little bit more off the forehand that he would have wanted to. Griekspoor playing very well and keeping up with Jannik. But here's what happens at the start of the tiebreaker. Griekspoor gets into two very neutral rallies with Jannik. And first one at 0-1 on his serve gives away the mini break with just a nothing backhand wide. It's just an early backhand unforced error. Just the pressure of hitting back cross court to the center backhand. He hits it out. He maybe feels nervous to go toe-to-toe with the center's backhand, like I was saying. But either way, he misses the backhand. Then, again at 3-1, he gets into just a neutral rally with Jannik. Great position. And he just hits the ball too late. Hits the ball too late on his backhand side, really extends into it, and just forces a backhand long. Two very easy backhand unforced errors, the exact same shot, hitting over his backhand with two hands, cross court long or wide. And it just, I don't know, it just felt completely like he succumbed to the pressure of the moment with his backhand, and maybe a lack of confidence to go toe-to-toe with Sinner off the backhand. That's what I felt like it was. And another thing that backs it up is that the other big point in the tiebreaker at 4-2, Griekspoor played a fantastic point and was getting Sinner in some uncomfortable positions, both guys hitting really hard shots from the back of the court. Griekspoor is able to pull off some pace from the back of the court and hit great shots from the back of the court consistently, off both wings. Like I said, very complete player. Griekspoor is a very good player. It's just these moments that let him down. It's the difference between a regular mainstay top 20, 30 player and a top 10, top 5, top 3 player, is that in the tiebreakers and in the big moments, that's when they step up and really feel the confidence in their shots, and that they can go to toe-to-toe when it's going physical rallies in the tiebreaker, and they have to make a decision, and they have to back themselves in those moments. That's what it comes down to, and knowing that they can trust their game. So this is what happened. At 4-2, they get into just a point where Griekspoor, again, has pretty neutral backhands to hit, but he decides to hit slices. And one falls a little bit short, and Sinner is able to run around it with a forehand, and he hits a forehand drop shot inside out perfectly. He did this a few times in the match, and they were a few times where I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like Sinner's drop shot has improved so much, first of all, which is a great sign. Taking the signature shot of his opponent, his main rival, Alcaraz, not his opponent, his main rival is what I meant to say, and being able to be so good with it already is amazing. Sinner has so much talent, but he's just been forming and getting better and better and improving. It's great to see. I'm going to get back to this in a little bit, why Sinner is able to hit so many forehands in this match. And I'll talk about that in a little bit as we go to the second set. So that's basically what happened. Sinner also was able to save 2 break points himself in this opening set. But second set, Griekspoor really going toe-to-toe with Sinner at 1-1 off the back of the court, but misses 2 backhands. This is the game where Sinner broke first. He misses 2 backhands, hitting over them. One hits the top of the net and floats wide. The other one just hits the net. I don't know, his backhand just unable to defend right and unable to really be steady enough handling Jannik's pace, I guess. But then, after Jannik breaks, Griekspoor breaks at 2-1 out of nowhere, and he pulls off 2 amazing backhand cross-court passes out of nowhere off his backhand, and I feel like Sinner, at that point, was underestimating Griekspoor's backhand. That's why he approached Griekspoor's backhand in that way, and it was like 2 consecutive points. Griekspoor hit amazing backhands. Griekspoor has an amazing backhand, but Griekspoor, the nerves and pressure of the moment, particularly in that tiebreaker, let him down. And then, after these errors, as well as in that 1-1 game, Sinner began to underestimate it, and he hit forehands, but not with too much width in the court, not too close to the tram lines, not too close to the doubles alley, just a little bit central, and he hit forehands that didn't have that much width on him, and Griekspoor was able to defend really impressively and make 2 great passes with that backhand, and just started playing really inspired tennis, just hit some ridiculous shot, particularly at the net. He hits 2 shots at the net in a row, a volley and a half volley after breaking at 2-2. The half volley won the shots of the week for sure. I'll talk about that later, but just like 4 perfect shots in a row to get the 2-2 30 love. And then it seems like something interesting could happen in this set. Momentum could be shifting. Maybe Griekspoor could even do better in this set than he did in the last set. He has taken a set off of Sinner twice on 2 different surfaces, or than this one actually, that weren't indoor hard courts, but on 2 different surfaces earlier this year at Miami and in blanking on what the other play, Halle. Miami and Halle. So, you know, it's like maybe there's a chance that he could take a set again. That's the thoughts as you're watching this live. And then it happens. The Talon Griekspoor duality of watching Talon Griekspoor is that he is an incredible player, but he just can be a little bit tough to watch in the biggest moments when it counts the most against the top guys. That's when it can fall short for him a little bit. He double faults at 30 love, and then his shots just falling way too short. Sinner begins attacking with the forehand. And even though Griekspoor has this kind of simple forehand to hit, he's even though like Sinner's in control of the forehand, but he probably doesn't get as much pace on the forehand as he would have wanted to. And Griekspoor, even though it's a pretty normal forehand to hit, he's so far behind the baseline that his shot just ends up in the net, ends up looping up a little bit into the net. So he's now defending, and he's just not confident enough to hit through in the big moments because of who's on the other side. Griekspoor double faults on break point, and also at deuce, he hits this. Jannik hits this big return that goes right back to the baseline, and Griekspoor basically tries to do a backhand slice over it, right into the net. Terrible decision, almost a backhand slice half volley from the baseline. So just poor decision making, double faults, and Sinner plays very well to get the break back. He has a lot of energy coming from his side, trying to take control, stepping in, but Griekspoor double faulting, not confident to hit through his shots, and falling back behind the baseline, poor decisions. And yeah, I mean, it's a mix of Sinner playing well and Griekspoor playing poorly, and everything kind of changes from that point. Sinner's forehand growing more and more inspired at this point. And here's the biggest point that I want to bring up in this match. I'm going to mention a point that may seem random. It's the last point that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a point that might seem random, but I think it is a good summary of kind of what I think happened in this match in a lot of ways, or a big factor as to why the result was the way the result was. So at 3-2 40 love, there's a point I felt like that was a very good defining point of the match. And the thing is, Sinner was cheating a lot to the ad side. He was basically standing on the ad side, hitting shots. And the reason that he can do that is that Griekspoor doesn't feel confident enough in his backing down the line, particularly with Jannik on the other side of the court with his defense and also with his elite forehand and running forehand. So Griekspoor is just not going to go that way anyway. So Sinner is really cutting down Griekspoor's like place where he can hit the ball. I feel like Griekspoor is pretty good at redirecting the ball, but maybe not with working with super small margin like this. And Griekspoor was hitting backhand cross court, but he wasn't able to get to the Sinner backhand, which wouldn't be that great, but he was at least rallying fine in the backhand to backhand. But Sinner was able to run around and hit forehands, which were working a lot better in the second set. So he's basically standing on the ad side, and Griekspoor is not going down the line. And what happened was Sinner was able to hit forehands from even the ad side, because Griekspoor was not able to get to the backhand. And on like 3 or 4 or 5 occasions, Sinner was just hit a forehand drop shot winner as to Griekspor's shot, and it caught Griekspoor off guard, and also he would just hit huge forehands from that side. So almost nowhere Griekspoor went, he would not find Sinner's forehand at some point. Even if he went backhand to backhand rally, he'd win some, he'd lose some. Like, Sinner's backhand is so good as well, but particularly the forehand is just the weapon that you don't want to go to when it's working, like it was big time in the second set, like usual. But yeah, nothing for Griekspoor, because Sinner's movement, even no matter how much he's on the ad side, he's able to get to the forehand and hit a great running forehand, which is not what the case was before, say, Beijing, Canada last year in a big way, but his movement has just become so elite that it's just a different case now. Particularly in 2022, but even, first half 2023. Sinner's movement is so good now, and you just don't want to get it to that monster, fearsome forehand that Jannik has to hit. And then, yeah, Jannik served it out. So that's some of the things I wanted to talk about in this match. Basically, Griekspoor played really well. Griekspoor played really well, and Sinner played sensationally well. Extremely good performance from him, and very clutch as well. Big moments, Griekspoor did not step up. He did not hit through the backhand enough off the defense, did not hit through his backhand, over his backhand enough on defense, probably did not feel comfortable going toe-to-toe with Jannik in that way. And yeah, Jannik with some great drop shots that helped him out, and incredible serving yet again from Jannik that really helped out in a big way as well. And it was those big moments where Jannik stepped up and Griekspoor didn't. That was the main thing. And yeah, just some ridiculous stats for Jannik. 26 sets to end the year is absolutely ridiculous. And he helps Italy win another title, second title for Italy, second year in a row. And pretty incredible. No team has won 3 in a row in a long time, but I think like Italy, with all the great depth of talent that they have now, and also the shining star at the top of the tree, which is Sinner, I feel like they're going to be a team that's going to be exceptionally hard to beat over the next decade and a half. They might dominate Davis Cup, maybe in a way that Spain didn't even dominate. Spain obviously did extremely well. They won a couple years in a row, 2008, 2009. They won 2019. I think they won another couple years in between there. They did. I think they won 2011 as well. But I think Italy could win like 7 out of 10 editions or something. Like, they could do something crazy here, because they have such a depth of talent, whether it's Jannik Sinner, whether it's Matteo Berrettini, whether it's Lorenzo Musetti, whether it's Matteo Arnaldi, whether it's Luca Nardi, Darderi, or Matteo Bellucci, or just like, they have so many, Lorenzo Sonego, they have so many players that it is almost hard to comprehend how good Italy is of a country. And they won the Billie Jean King Cup too. So guess what? They'll be pretty good in Billie Jean King Cup, Davis Cup, and also guess what else? United Cup. They're going to be a nightmare in United Cup as well. So I think Italy is a big team to watch out as a potential dominating force, because there's so much depth of talent, and these guys are young, and they're only getting better. In fact, I'd like to look up actually the age of the Italian players in the top 100, because I could be wrong, but I think across the board, you're going to see a big pattern, and it's that these guys are young. Like, it's only recent years, last 2-3 years, that we've even seen Italy as a big country to really be dealt with in a big way. But Berrettini was around, Sinner was already around, so there were a few players, but the way some of these players have stepped up, and yeah, at the top, 23 years old Sinner, 22 years old Musetti, Caboli I didn't even mention, who's incredibly talented, 22 years old. Berrettini, 28. He's still got a few years, hopefully. Arnaldi, 23. Darderi, 22. Luca Nardi, 21. And then you got Fonini, Sonego. So a few players who are a little bit older, but, like, seriously, it's incredible. And then even if you go through 101 to 200 range, but Matteo Bellucci, 23. Passaro, 23. Gigante, 22. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. But I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's really pretty incredible. And then you have a guy like Zapiri as well, and Maestrelli, and so many guys that are young. Those guys are 21, 22 years old. Like, it's incredible. It's really incredible. And Musetti is only going to you would think get higher in ranking. Same thing with Kaboli, same thing with Arnaldi. I think Arnaldi is a future top 15, top 20 player, period. He'll stay like that. And I think Musetti is probably going to be a top 10 player, probably maybe the bottom of the top 10, maybe middle of the top 10 at some points. So the point is, they're going to be very hard to deal with, and I feel bad for every other country right now. And it's kind of crazy how US, France, Great Britain, and Australia dominated the sport for a long time, and then last few years, other countries showed up and was like, actually, we're the best. We're the best for this era, for these couple of eras. Spain, Serbia, Switzerland, Italy, Great Britain had Murray, so shout out to Great Britain. But yeah, I mean, with France, Australia, and United States, they're looking for their next great kind of hero. And also Great Britain had Jack Draper, who's going to be very good as well. Obviously, they did have Murray, but you know, I think France also has a lot of great depth of talent, and I think US is currently in a great place for sure. And Australia is only getting better at Demonor and Poprin. So anyway, it's interesting what's going to happen in the Davis Cup for the next years. I'm excited to see it, but I think Italy really could dominate. I think it could be a dominance like we haven't seen in a long time. The record for most Davis Cups won in a row is 7. US won 7 from 1920 to 1926. Actually, Davis Cup had a different name at that point. I believe it was like the International Tennis Challenge or something like that. But yeah, anyway. But in 1920 through 1926, America won 7, and actually the next 6 years after that, I believe France won 6. And Australia has won by far the second most of any Davis Cups of any country. So for a long time, those 4 countries I named that have the majors, they're the only countries that won the Davis Cup. But yeah, things are different now, and Italy is a big country to watch out for, not just because of Jannik Sinner as well. Let me get to the weekly categories, power rankings, the year-end power rankings. We still have the Next Gen Finals, which, by the way, I've had my complaints and criticism with this tournament big time. It has an incredible field this year. It has a very stacked field this year. Like, I am excited. It has Fils, Fonseca, Menzik, Shang, and so many talented guys here. Like, I'm really excited for it. I'm going to be tuning in and watching, but it doesn't count for any ATP points. These are the year-end power rankings, in my opinion. Number 1, and a lot of them are very similar to last week, to be fair. But number 1, Jannik Sinner. Number 2, Fritz. Sinner stays at number 1 because Sinner. Number 2, Fritz. He won his match against Demonor this week and played very, very well. Number 3, Zverev, didn't play. Number 4, Alcaraz. He actually played really well in his match against Griekspoor. Like, that second set was phenomenally impressive, especially with the pressure that he was under. So Alcaraz, I almost moved Alcaraz up, but he stays at number 4. But Alcaraz, shout out to him because that's a great last match to finish with, to be fair, especially for an indoor hardcourt match, which Alcaraz has struggled with at times. Number 5, Djokovic. Number 6, Karin Khachanov. Neither of those guys played. Number 7, Draper. And number 8, Alex de Minaur, who moves up 2 spots from number 10. So all the guys above him didn't move. Number 8 is de Minaur. He lost. So de Minaur is a weird person to move up because he actually lost both his matches this week, but he played so well against Sinner. That I just felt like it would be wrong to not move him up. Like, he was playing so well that I felt like he deserves to move up. So I don't have that much else to say about that. I felt like de Minaur played some of his best tennis ever against Jannik, but Jannik is just insane and loves playing de Minaur, so I guess that's what I have to say about that. And then number 9, I go with Casper Ruud, who ends off the power rankings at year-end number 9 somehow, just mostly because the ATP Finals was so good. Number 10, Hugo Humbert, whose last tournament was Paris, where he got to the final. So that is the year-end power rankings. I was considering putting Griekspoor or Berrettini in, but they both played really, really well, but neither of them beat a top 30 player. So I felt like maybe it was a little bit, I was very tempted to, but it didn't feel quite right. And Kokidakis was also in my mind, who had a very good week, but I don't think any of those three guys really should have a place right now in the power rankings, but they are players to watch out for next year because they did end off the year playing a very high level. So that's what I want to say about that. Player of the week goes to Matteo Berrettini, who I think really deserves it. He played a phenomenal match against Botic van de Zandschulp in the final. He played very good doubles this week. He was clutch this week. He played some close matches that he got out of, including the match of the week. Well, first of all, before I go to the match of the week, actually, I want to give an honorable mention to Wesley Koolhof. He is the other player that I want to give an honorable mention for player of the week because he played out of his head in the doubles rubber, and there was a lot of pressure on him, to a lot of eyes watching that because Nadal's career literally rested on that match, and so did Koolhof's. 2 careers rested on that match because Koolhof retired this week. But his level in that last match, the return of serves he was hitting, were unbelievable. So shout out to Wesley Koolhof, incredible player, former world #1 in men's doubles, and he ended off his career on a high note, no doubt about it. And it was crazy the level he performed when almost everybody in the world was cheering for Spain outside of the Netherlands, who had a historic week. So shout out to Koolhof. Match of the week goes to Kokkinakis versus Berrettini, which was a phenomenal match. It was 7-5 in the third set for Matteo, and both guys played amazing. Very long tiebreaker in the first set. It could have gone either way. Kokkinakis really clutched up to pull it out. Obviously, Matteo could have played a little bit better, no doubt, in that first set as well, but Kokkinakis did clutch it out. And the third set was very entertaining and very exciting. I liked watching both players. So Kokkinakis versus Shelton was a phenomenal match, and that deserves to be an honorable mention here. Because I think most people would have put that as the top place because it was 16-14 in the third set tiebreaker, but the first set was just 22 minutes long. Unforced error central, showing a lot of tension and nerves in that third set deciding set tiebreaker. It was not Shelton's best match. Kokkinakis, amazing win for him after he's lost so many tight matches in that vein, including the one he'd lose later in the week against Berrettini. But yeah, Kokkinakis versus Shelton is an honorable mention. Also, Griekspoor versus Struff. Very cool fight and shot making from Talon Griekspoor in the second set that helped him get the win and helped Netherlands get to the final, which again was very historic. Shot of the week, simply because of the moment, I'm going to pick an extraordinary squash shot that Matteo hit versus Kokkinakis in that match, that's the match of the week, at 5-all, 15-love Kokkinakis serving. It was a pivotal match in the tournament. It was a pivotal moment and a pivotal shot in the tournament. Helped turn the tide. Even the commentator after Matteo hit that shot said, "Is that the moment of magic that will change everything?" Yes. Here's what happened. Miraculous semifinals. Miraculous defensive winner cross court from Matteo at 5-all, 15-love. It looked like the point was over. It looked like Kokkinakis had won the point. I felt like Kokkinakis slightly had the momentum at this point. I felt like he was playing a little bit better, and I felt like Matteo was not really taking his chances and playing the big points as good as usual. But this incredible shot really turned the tide because Matteo quickly won the next 3 points in like less than a minute. Two Thanasi Kokkinakis forehands that missed wide, just very easy forehands that missed wide, and a big confident forehand from Matteo inside out. That was, I think, the shot right after he hit that great forehand squash shot. So it really did help turn the tide for Italy, and it could be the reason that Australia did not get the revenge over Italy and why we have the champions of the Davis Cup that we have because of this one shot. It's quite possible, in my opinion. Honorable mention, Griekspoor half volley at 2-2 in the second set versus Yannick. That's an incredible shot. Now I want to talk about tennis culture. There have been 2 big pieces of off-court, or not off-court, but tennis news this week. Incredible pieces of tennis news that are just big. No matter what week they come in, they will grab the whole tennis world's attention. Some of the biggest pieces of news in recent tennis history, if not just in tennis history. So for this culture segment, first thing I want to mention is in some of the biggest tennis news, Novak Djokovic has announced Andy Murray as his coach. This isn't breaking news, but it's news I'm announcing because this is a weekly Tuesday podcast. But I'm reacting to it first time in a video on this channel. Murray is going to coach Djokovic at the start of 2025 for the offseason and at least through to the Australian Open. Incredible news. Federer, towards the end of his career, literally his last match, finished his career alongside Rafa. Novak, towards the end of his career, could finish alongside Andy. And that's something I want to bring up. Andy, very keen to coach. He's very keen to coach. I don't think that most people would come out of retirement 3 months after they retired if they were not keen to be a coach. Like, I understand it's Djokovic, but I don't think most people would coach anybody if they weren't very keen to coach, because 3 months after you're done says a lot about you as a person in terms of what you want to be doing, and kind of how you're regrouping from retiring from playing. Like, it is a big snapback into the tennis world, and shows that Andy has more to give right away, right now, and he wants to coach. I don't think, what I'm trying to say is, whether it's for Djokovic or whether it's for a player outside the top 100, or whether, like, no matter what, like, it's hard for me to imagine that the fact that it's Novak is the reason that Andy is the sole reason that Andy's like, okay, I will coach. Like, to me, if you decide to coach 3 months after you retire, it means you must yourself want to coach and be a coach. And also, it's a lot of pressure. The first person you coach is Novak, so it shows that Andy does have some interest, and it doesn't surprise me why. Very passionate about the game, one of the most passionate players we've ever had, one of the smartest players we've ever had. He understands the game and the tactics. This has always been clear. Very talented player. Yes, not as flashy as Roger, but I've said this before, but he will use his talent to be extremely effective and be one step ahead of the curve, playing tennis like a chess match. I remember a long time ago reading a quote saying that coaches would often tell Murray to click off his brain and not think so much, which is not something you usually tell a player. You want to tell him, think more, make good decisions. Murray would sometimes overthink. He's one of the few players ever that would do that. So Murray's a big thinker on court, and incredible anticipation, and he understands the game, reads the game so well, and he will hit a lot of creative shots that other players just don't hit, or won't decide to hit, won't think of. So in that way, I feel like Murray can bring a lot to coaching. He has a game style that is somewhat reminiscent of Novak in a lot of ways, no doubt, and they know each other very well and get along very well on a personal level. They both played one of their first international events together, a match against each other when they were 11 years old. Murray destroyed Djokovic 6-0, 6-1. They've known each other for a long time. Half of their matches have come in big finals. They are one of the few rivalries ever that have played in all 4 slams, in the final of all 4 slams, or just in all 4 slams. Even Federer and Rafa didn't play in all 4 slams. But they played in the final of all 4 slams, and half of their matches were big finals. Roger and Rafa can say that. More than half their matches were big finals, 22 out of 40. But not Novak Rafa, not Roger Novak. Like, most rivalries can't say this. I actually wouldn't be surprised if most Roger Novak matches were semifinals, but they weren't finals. I don't know the exact numbers for that. Because they played so many semifinals, especially in Australia. It's crazy they never played against a final against each other in Australian Open. But the point is, it's crazy for 2 rivals of that magnitude who played in so many big moments in their careers to now to now partner up with Djokovic in the top 10, just being a reigning slam finalist, just having won the Olympic gold medal. And Andy just retired 3 months ago. It's really a crazy piece of sporting news. Like, it's hard to believe. And it makes me wonder, honestly, who Andy will coach next. Because at this point, I feel utterly confident that Andy wants to be a coach. I don't think Novak will be the last person he coaches. Will he coach somebody right after Novak? I don't know. I always thought Rune would be quite a good fit for Andy. Rune can be a bit emotionally explosive on court in a way that Andy could have been as well. Has been as well many times in the past. There's a lot of things that Andy can teach Rune, such as shot selection, etc., etc. there's a lot of things that Andy could help Rune with. Also, Rune is a big Andy fan, so that I think Rune would say yes immediately. And Rune needs a lot of good coaching, and Andy would be the guy for him. And also, Andy was kind of the guy who struggled with 2 or 3 other amazing players in his career before he was able to win a slam. Now Rune has to deal with Sinner and Alcaraz. So Rune is a perfect fit in so many ways. He can help Rune as well with just perfecting kind of the defense side of things a little bit more and just figuring out his game and how he wants to play. Medvedev makes a lot of sense. Casper makes a lot of sense, mostly because Casper is kind of like Murray was, where he got to slam finals but just couldn't figure out ways to win a slam and beat the top guys like he wanted to, the top guys. So any of those guys make sense, but it's a partnership that surprises me. I was in shock more than I was at any other tennis news that I've seen. I did not see it coming, and I don't know whether it's going to be a mess or whether it's going to work. I'm kind of afraid that it's going to be a mess. I don't think Novak's results will kind of skyrocket to get better, but I don't think that's necessarily to blame on Murray. It's just that I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if they're going to mold that well. There's been jokes that, you know, Novak could be screaming at his, like sometimes he screams at his box on court. And Andy has gone quite emotionally volatile watching, you know, playing the match as well. So there could be emotions. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. But obviously they have great respect for each other and as friends and as rivals. And I'm hoping that they mesh together well. Now, will Novak win the Australian Open? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But just seeing Andy in the box there, it's going to be really exciting, and I'm actually very excited for it. But I hope it fuels the fire in Novak, and I hope that Novak feels that pressure, that necessary pressure to maybe perform in front of one of his biggest rivals, by far one of his biggest rivals and most notable. I hope that he feels that pressure to perform with Andy sitting in his box, and that could help him in a big way to keep that fuel burning and fire alive. The other piece of tennis news I want to talk about is Rafa retiring. Yeah, it's the big piece of news. You know, it's just like when Roger retired. These guys whose legacies just outlast them, and who Rafa was a I just want to give maybe like a quick tribute to Rafa and just say there's nothing that I can say that hasn't been said. I think a million people watching will roll their eyes if I say like he was a fighter, because that's been said a million times before. But I will say about that his humility that he was as a person made him not just relatable, but it made him the unreal gladiator and athlete that he was. His humility made him think, helped him to overcome his battles time and time again. It was obvious to see. He had that passion burning, one of the most intense, passionate players ever, and you could just you could feel him, like you could feel his genuine passion whenever he would give a roar and try to excite the crowd, try to get into the game, try to fight for every ball, and hit incredible shots time and time again, and just be a wall at the back of the court, and just never give up on any point. And it was the humility that was so relatable and yet so far away that made him that way, and it was so unique. And his humility was wrapped up inside of the amazing, intense athlete and fighter, gladiator he was. But that just made him the perfect example and inspiration for not just an athlete, but a person overall, that if you are humble and if you keep fighting for what you want, you can do extraordinary things. So people related to Rafa, but in the same reason that they related to Rafa, they saw him do the extraordinary, unreal things he did. And that made such greatness feel very close to home. And Rafa was one of a kind in that way. And also just his forehand is one of the most unique shots ever. Unreal. The guy's talent is unreal, and one of the quickest players, one of the most fun players to watch that ever played. And he was beyond an important person for the sport. So thank you, Rafa. And yeah, I hope that we keep seeing Rafa around the sport just like we do with Roger as well, because with Novak, with Rafa, with Roger, all their legacies are everlasting. So it had to happen at some point. I was happy that we got this last season with Rafa, and yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Rafa retiring. But yeah, anyway, this has been a wrap up. I'll be here with more stuff over the next little while, maybe some year-end rankings or other stuff. I'll be doing different things. You'll see me around on this channel, so please don't forget to subscribe, Quality Shot Tennis, ring that notification bell. Don't forget to like. And yeah, thanks guys for joining in for this. Next year is going to be a big year. Make sure to join in for us next year. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.